Okay, pre-calculus, let's take a look at factoring trinomials. So if there's one thing you're going to get super good at, I really hope it's factoring. This is going to come up a ton. Every chapter we do, it's going to be, hey, factor and solve. Hey, factor and graph. So the factoring trinomials lesson right here is something that I call by hand. Okay. So the technique to doing these, there's a couple different ones. Some people just do guess and check. Okay. Some people do things that look like this. There's a little MA table. So M stands for multiply, and then the A stands for add. Okay, so you take your trinomial. Trinomial means that you have three terms. You're going to take the leading coefficient and you're going to multiply it by the constant. So 1 times 49 is 49. And then you take that middle term, which is a positive 14, and that's your add number. Okay, now I have to spend some time over here thinking. What two numbers multiply to make 49? And most people right away say 7 times 7 multiplies to 49. But then you have to ask yourself, does that add to 14? Okay, and it does. So you've found the correct pair of numbers. Now, what do you do with those numbers? This is a very important step. You come over here, okay, and what you do is you use these numbers to split the middle. You split the middle up. So the middle is 14x. I'm going to split that up into 7x and 7x, and they're both positives from over here. Okay, now you still have your first term, which is x squared, and you still have your constant term, which is 49. So I've just turned a trinomial into a polynomial with four terms. But now, this is just like yesterday when we did factor by grouping. So you look at the first two, and you take out the common monomial, which is x, leaving us with x plus 7. Then you look at the next two, and I'm going to take out a positive 7, and that leaves us with x plus 7. Okay, and how can you tell if you're getting it right? Okay, you have to see duplicates right here. And since we have duplicates, that means that we're getting the answer right. One set of parentheses is for these monomials that we took out, x plus 7, and the other set of parentheses is for the duplicate, x plus 7. Now, it doesn't always happen to be that the two binomials are exactly alike. In this case, it did though. Okay, now how do you multiply to check? It's very important that you go through the multiplying steps just so that you start doing the problem forwards so that you get really good at the factoring, which is doing it backwards. So I'm going to multiply firsts, and that's x squared. And then I'm going to do the outers. X times 7 is 7x. The inners is another 7x. And finally the lasts plus 49. Okay, so the process that you're doing here is the exact opposite of what you did up here. Okay, you're going backwards. So we're going to get back up to that last problem right there. The middles are going to combine into 14x plus 49. So do you see how the middles combine here to make 14x? That's exactly what we did when we split the middles. And this problem checks. Alright, let's keep going. Some of you might have learned a way that looks kind of like this, where you take the 1 times negative 2. Okay, you multiply these together, and that makes negative 2. And then you take your adding number, the positive one, you put it there. So your chart is just like my MA chart, except it's more of a crisscross. And what two numbers multiply to make a negative 2? Well, I know 2 times 1 makes 2. But one of them is going to have to be negative, and they have to add to a 1. If I make 2 negative, that won't make a positive 1. I think the negative has to go on the 1, okay? So these are the numbers. Now what do you do with those numbers? Okay, we're going to split the middle term. So instead of plus 1x, I'm going to have 2x and then minus 1x. All right, now what do you do if this said m. You'd have m's. What would you do if you had x squared here? You'd have x squareds. These two are exactly what your middles are. Okay. Let's go ahead and write our first term, which is x squared, and the last term, the constant, is minus 2. And now this is just a factor by grouping problem. The first two have an x in common. Let's take that out. And that gives us x plus 2. From the second group, they both have a negative. I'll take that out. There's no number they share, so I'll just take out minus 1. That leaves us with x plus 2. How can I tell if I'm doing the problem correct? Okay, because I see duplicates, which means my final answer is going to be x minus 1 for one of the binomials and x plus 2 for the other one. Does it matter which binomial you put first? No, either one. As long as one of them is the x minus 1 and one of them is x plus 2. Okay, so now let's go ahead and multiply to check. I'll write the problem again so I can draw all my little arrows for the multiplying. So in terms of FOIL, F-O-I-L, that stands for firsts. That's x squared. Outers is plus 2x. Inners minus 1x. And lasts minus 2. Okay, your middles are going to go ahead and combine here, and that makes 2 minus 1 plus x minus 2. And that was the problem, so it checks. Okay, I want to see factoring as well as multiplying, so you're doing two different things here in our practice. Okay, let's go take a look at number 10. I'm going to go ahead and make a multiply add chart. Multiply add. I should have drawn some boxes on these worksheets, huh? Just so I don't use up too much space. That's all the space you get for number 10. You take the leading coefficient 9, you multiply by 4. 9 times 4 is 36, and the add number is negative 12. Now I will tell you that you don't have to worry about the negative sign just yet. Okay, let's just worry about the number 36. And some people like to spend some time here and be systematic. So sometimes that helps. That way you know you're going to find it eventually. 1 times 36 makes 36. 2 times 18 makes 36. 3 times 12. 4 times 9. 6 times 6. When I get to the same number right here, okay, I know that I'm done. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Here's the numbers going higher, and any number here would have already had its mate there. These are the only possible combinations to make a 36. Okay, but they have to add to a 12. Which ones here add or subtract to 12? Okay, and the answer is going to be 6's. Okay, but now let's think about that negative sign. How am I going to get negative 12? I'd have to make both of them negative, right? But how is that going to make, oh yeah, 2 negatives multiply to a positive. Okay, so you found the numbers. Now what do you do with those numbers? Very important. You're going to split the middles. Some people think they just take those numbers and write the answer. That does not go in the answer. That is the middles. So it has to be negative 6. Since the middles are x, it's going to be negative 6x. Now you have to write the rest of the problem. So the first term was 9x squared. And the last term was plus 4. And now you have a factor by grouping problem. From the first group, what can I take out? Let's take out a 3 and an x, leaving us with 3x minus 2. Now from the next group, what can we take out? If it starts with a negative, take out a negative. And let's factor out a 2. Okay, so if it starts with a negative, take it out for sure. This gives us 3x. I factored a 2 out. 4 divided by negative 2 is going to be negative 2. Does that work? Yes, because I have duplicates. So we have 3x minus 2. And then I've got another 3x minus 2. I can write it again, or I could just simply say quantity squared. Okay, you can write it either way. You can write it with a power, Okay, or you can write two of them. Now how do we multiply? I'm going to have to multiply 3x minus 2 times another 3x minus 2. And let's go ahead and FOIL that. Firsts, that's 9x squared outers minus 6x inners minus 6x lasts plus 4. The middles are going to combine, and that makes negative 12x. Did we get the starting problem? We did. Sometimes the more you go forwards, the better you get at going backwards. Do you see how the minus 6x's right here combined? Those are the ones we were looking for in our table. Okay, now I will tell you that some people, they have to use the MA table and they're systematic and they get the job done. Other people can start to look at problems. If the leading coefficient is 1 right here, okay, I'll tell you that there is a trick. You can speed this up if the leading coefficient is 1. Okay, in fact, if the first term right here breaks up into something easily, I know that it's got to be 1x times 1x. That's the only way to make x squared. Okay, so you can guess and check a little bit with these if you want. How do you make a 36? So is this going to be 6 and 6? Well, it's got to make a 5x in the middle. So I don't know if 6x and 6x can add or subtract to make a 5. I don't think that's right. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. Let's try again. Let's put our x's in the beginning. How else can you make a 36? It could be 12 times 3. Is that going to add or subtract to make a 5x? Nope, that one didn't work. So some people don't like the guess and check method because they spend a lot of time here. They would rather spend their time just working it out with the grouping. So let's try one more time. Let's try 9 and 4. 9 and 4. So this is going to be 4x, and that's 5x. I think that does make a 5x. I want the 5 to be positive though. So I want the 9 to be positive and the 4 to be negative. But is that going to multiply to make a negative 36 on the end? Let's go ahead and check. Let's multiply here to check. X plus 9 times x minus 4. So I'm very confident that the firsts, x times x, are going to make x squared. Okay. And then the outers, minus 4x, and the inners, plus 9x. Okay, those are going to have to combine. And then the lasts are negative 36. So I've got x squared plus 5x minus 36. Definitely. I might ask you to check on paper. I might ask you to just check by multiplying it out in your head, like I was doing here with the guess and check. Okay. So I guess here we can decide if we want to try the guess and check method or if we want to just try the make the table and get the job done method. Okay. I think I'm going to make an MA table. So 21 times negative 2 is negative 42, and the add number is 1. Okay, so if you'd like to go about this systematically, we might be here for a while. 1 times 42, that's way too far. Okay, are there two numbers that you know make a 42? Yeah, 6 times 7, and those numbers are 1 apart. I think this might work. Except when they add, they have to make a 1. What if it was 7 minus 6? Does that multiply to negative 42 and add to a 1? You got it. Now what do you do with these? Okay, these numbers just don't go in the answer. These numbers are going to split the middles. So let me get out a different color pen here so I can show you splitting of the middles. Negative 6 is going to be negative 6x because the middles are called x. And this is a positive 7, so plus 7x. And then the lasts are going to be minus 2. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and factor by grouping. So I hope that you took out a 3 and an x, leaving us with 7x minus 2. Here, there's no number in common. It's not starting with a negative. When there's nothing to take out, you have to take out something. You have to say plus 1. And that leaves us with 7x minus 2. You have duplicates, so you're getting it correct. Final answer is 3x plus 1 and 7x minus 2. Okay, go ahead and multiply to check. Students do work, and hopefully you get the answer right. Go ahead and multiply it out. I want to see multiplying right there. Don't just draw a smiley face. And the last problem here. I'm going to go ahead and make a MA table. 6 times 6 is 36 again, and the add number is 13. Let's see. If I do it systematically, 1 times 36, 2 and 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, 6 times 6, it's got to be one of those. Which ones add to 13? Right there. Okay. Now what do we do with those? We're going to split the middles. So let me get a different color pen out here. This is going to be 6x squared, but my middles are right here, 4x plus 13x. And don't forget, I'm sorry, that's 9. 4x and 9x. And the lasts are plus 6. Okay, go ahead and factor by grouping. And let me know what you got. Survey says 2x plus 3 and 3x plus 2. Okay, let's go ahead and multiply to check here. Okay, go ahead and multiply these out. Let me see your firsts, your outers, your inners, and your lasts right there on the paper. Great job, everyone.